It was the soft, devastating press of that traitorous kiss in the moonlit Garden of Gethsemane that shattered the silence, sealing the fate of the only man who had ever loved him unconditionally. The tension exploded in the shadowed grove of ancient olive trees. The quiet, midnight air was suddenly choked by the smoke of burning torches and the harsh clatter of Roman armor. As the soldiers lunged forward, the disciples panicked, their swords flashing in a desperate, chaotic frenzy. But Jesus stepped into the light of the torches, his voice a calm anchor in a sea of madness. "Am I leading a rebellion?" he asked, his eyes locking onto Judas with a sorrow that cut deeper than any blade. "That you have come with swords and clubs?" With a touch that healed an severed ear and a command to put away the steel, he surrendered himself to the dark. By dawn, the quiet dignity of the garden was replaced by the rabid, intoxicating frenzy of the praetorium. Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate, a mosaic of open wounds from a devastating Roman scourging. The dark crimson streams from a twisted crown of Judean thorns traced the lines of a face that had once calmed stormy seas. The crowd's roar was a physical force, a deafening wave of condemnation. "Crucify him!" Pilate washed his hands in a silver basin, the water splashing over his pristine fingers. But no amount of water could scrub away the monumental weight of the injustice he was cowardly allowing. The walk to Golgotha was a grueling march through a gauntlet of pure, unadulterated hatred. The massive, rough-hewn crossbeam ground mercilessly into Jesus' raw, exposed shoulder blades with every agonizing step. The sun beat down, turning the winding streets of Jerusalem into a suffocating oven where dust clung to his sweat and bleeding flesh. He collapsed, his knees slamming into the jagged cobblestones, the breath driven violently from his lungs. Yet, beneath the crushing, splintering weight of the timber, a heavier, invisible burden pressed down upon his chest, the collective sin, shame, and grief of the entire human race. At the summit of the skull-shaped hill, the Roman executioners threw him to the dirt. The tension reached its absolute breaking point. Arms were brutally stretched along the wood. The heavy iron spikes were positioned over his wrists. Those who were crucified always fought back. They spat, they cursed the heavens, they screamed obscenities until their vocal cords tore. The soldiers braced themselves for the violent, animalistic thrashing of a desperate, dying man, but the twist came not in the form of a celestial army descending to rescue their king, but in a whisper that paralyzed the executioners. As the heavy iron mallet struck the spike and searing, unimaginable agony tore through his nerve endings, Jesus opened his bruised, blood-stained lips and spoke the impossible. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." It was a total inversion of the cosmos. The victim was offering amnesty to his murderers. The judge was taking the death sentence upon himself. As the cross was hoisted upright, dropping into its rocky socket with a sickening thud, the elements themselves rebelled. The midday sun was swallowed by an unnatural, suffocating blackness. For 3 hours, a cosmic night descended, and the air grew freezing cold as the Son of God absorbed the ultimate, tearing agony of separation from the Father. The climax arrived not with a whimper, but with a triumphant, world-altering declaration. His lungs rapidly filling with fluid, his body pushed past the absolute limits of biological endurance, Jesus pressed his weight against the iron spike in his feet, tearing his own flesh just to draw one final agonizing breath. It is finished. He did not die because the Romans killed him. He bowed his head and willingly yielded his spirit. At that exact microsecond, the earth shuddered in a violent earthquake, splitting the bedrock beneath their feet. In the heart of the great temple miles away, the massive, tightly woven veil separating humanity from the Holy of Holies violently ripped from top to bottom, an unseen, divine hand throwing open the doors of heaven forever. The Roman centurion, covered in the dust and blood of the execution, stared up at the lifeless body. The hardened soldier dropped his spear, transformed by the sheer magnitude of what he had just witnessed. This was not a tragic murder. It was a flawless rescue mission. The cross, that terrifying instrument of imperial terror, had just been forged into the ultimate bridge of grace. The light of the world had allowed himself to be extinguished solely so that those wandering in the dark could finally, irrevocably, find their way home.